Well, let's go back a moment to 1935 when Mussolini was in Ethiopia and Hitler was cracking down on the Jews. Uh, what was Russia doing? We knew that Robeson had come back from Europe in 1939, I think it was. He was still in Europe in 1935, but there were professors on the campus who began to explain to us the forces of colonialism and capitalism and socialism and communism. And remember, in those days, the opprobrium that attached itself to communism was not there. There were people in the Congress, Martin Dies and all those, who was out to get the communism, but America didn't pay much attention. You could be a communist, you could be a Republican, you could be a vegetarian. Nobody bothered too much. And so when I was on campus, some of these young folks, went around with the Communist Manifesto in their pockets, and they could explain what colonialism was and how only socialism was going to get us free of colonialism, because colonialism was a form of capitalist expansion. And if we wanted to get rid of that, we had to take the power altogether from the capitalists and the bankers and investors and give it to the working class. And it made a lot of sense in those days. So there were people on campus to whom we listened. And then when I got to New York and the war was tightening, and what was happening in Russia and the battles of Stalingrad and all of those things were in the headlines, then we began to study seriously. And those of us who felt shamed by the fact that the whole continent of Africa belonged to somebody else, how were we going to change that? So communism was one of the ways, as an antidote, that we thought, a discipline that if we could follow, we could organize ourselves into a force that would sweep all that stuff away. And there were people, when I got to New York in 1939, Robeson had come back, and I met Ben Davis, and I met other people who were members of the Communist Party. And these were nice guys like you and me, eating hot dogs or chewing up greens and, a mouthful of okra and tomatoes, arguing these great points. What's happening in South Africa, et cetera, et cetera. So there was, at that time, when I got to New York, I worked in the garment center, and I heard, from some of the workers down there, various things going on. And I got to know about the Communist Party. I got to read the Daily Worker. I got to know about the Young Communist League. And there were several guys. One was a dancer, Stretch Johnson, was a dancer, a marvelous guy. And I think Stretch it was who told me and told us about the Young Communist League. And I decided that maybe this is the place that I should be. And I liked the idea of the freedom, and there were girls there, and there were parties, and serious discussions against lynching, serious discussions against segregation, against racism, putting things in perspective. So I was on the verge of joining the Young Communist League, but once I got involved in the activity itself, I sort of found that wasn't exactly satisfactory to me. I went instead to workers' school down on 13th Street or something, where you could go and study Marx and Lenin and W.B. Du Bois and
more of a socialistic group?
A socialistic group. And serious instruction was going on, explaining the war, explaining all these things. So I was deeply affected by all of this. Never enough to join, the Communist Party, but certainly I had no qualms about association with people who might be communists. That didn't bother me at all. As long as we were involved in something that meant something to me and meant something to them, and we could work together, that was just fine.